Hello everybody, here we are at week 3 of new agent training. What did we talk about the first couple of weeks? The first week we talked about attitude and daily habits, good habits to be in. What's the big thing about attitude? It's a can-do attitude. You say, Jerry, I can't do this, I have a day job. Don't tell me what you can't do, tell me what you can do. Attitude. And don't assume it's going to fall out of escrow. Every client I meet, I'm going to close a deal with them. I'm going to close it. If you expect to close it, you're much more likely to close it. Attitude is big. You know, daily quiet time in the morning, setting the stage for success. Highly successful people, about 97% of them have that quiet time each and every morning. And because of that, they make better decisions all day long. And you know what my quiet time looks like. It starts off with my prayer time. My prayer time starts off with being thankful, because I truly am. And then I move on. It's critically important. I know I keep saying this, but I really want everybody here to get it, to be successful. Okay, we also talked about, if you don't have a database and you're not using a schedule, either written or electronic, either one's fine, whichever one you use is fine. If you don't have that, you have a hobby. You do not have a business. I cannot teach you how to build a hobby. What else did we talk about? Well, let's see. Activity schedule. We talked about working from memory and emotions, or systems and checklists. We talked about being a lifelong learner. We actually did talk a little bit about buyer orientation last week. We can talk more about that. We talked about the closing gift. I gave you a flyer with what I do for my closing gift packet, and you've got that. If you don't have it, you'll get it next time around. So we're going to move on to one of my other things. Remember, I say you need to do 12 newsletters, 6 greeting cards, 2 phone calls, 3 open houses every 2 months. Okay? Wear your name tag. Okay? Open houses is one of my favorite things. I don't care if you're brand new to the city, if you moved in from Chicago, like one of our new agents, she's in Chicago right now, so she's not here, Joanne. It doesn't matter. You do open houses, you're going to attract buyers. Many of those buyers do not have an agent. You may do 2 or 3 open houses and get nobody, or you may get a couple that aren't ready for a year or 6 months. I mean, you saw some of that just a few weeks ago. 2 or 3 that seemed very interested, but it turns out none of them are right now. It's not so far. But you put them in your database and they get 12 newsletters, 6 greeting cards, 2 phone calls. And I'm telling you, I have had people 2 years later call me and say, now I'm ready, because I met them in an open house. My escrow right now in Laverne, I sold them that condo 6 years ago. 2 years before that, they walked into an open house. They're a young couple, I show them respect. Like a lot of agents don't do. They don't show these young couples respect. Well, guess what? It's critically important to show them respect, because guess what? They can buy, their parents can buy. Turns out, they called me 2 years later. They bought a house, then I sold their mother's house to Amani, and they moved out near them, and now I'm selling their condo and moving into a bigger house, because I put them in my database. All right, I stayed in touch with them, and 2 years later they called me. So open houses. Here's the thing: the best open houses, not the only open houses, but the best open houses are done on the weekend, because you're going to get the highest number of people to show up. If you're doing an open house on Tuesday or Wednesday, it's better than sitting and doing nothing, sitting and watching your phone, hoping that it rings. It's not going to ring unless it's a bill collector. So yeah, so you can do an open house on Tuesday or Wednesday if you got nothing else going on. But very honestly, the best open houses are Saturday and Sunday, and Saturday being the better of the two. Now here's the thing: if I'm going to work all day Saturday, I'm going to make it worth it. I am not going to waste my Saturday. I don't want to do an open house and have 3 or 4 people walk in and, nobody be interested. I want to have 20 or 30 walk in, so I got half a dozen that are interested, whether it be now, a year from now, or 5 years from now, right? And consequently, you do the right things to do the big open house, and you get more people most of the time. I've done open houses with several of you, and every time I've done with one of you guys, we've had at least 20 come through, usually more. And during that open house that I do on a Saturday, I'm going to tell you exactly what I do. I try and have one of you work with me. Okay? And when you do that, if you're one of my trades and you're working with me, anybody comes in, they're your leads to follow up on. I'm giving them to you. They're yours. I expect you to follow up on them. If you're not one of my mentees, sorry Charlie, can't do that. It costs me too much money. But the point of the story is you do that, and while you're there, I don't just teach you, tell you stuff out of a book. I'll show you. People will walk in, and I'll talk to them, and you'll see them walk in, and you'll see, oh, they're not interested, and I'll make them into an advocate for me. And it's all because I have the confidence to talk to them. Several of you have seen me take clients as they walk in the door, and before they leave, they're a friend. It's somebody that would refer me or come back to me at a point in time. Okay? If you have 20 or 30 people come through and you make 2 or 3 connections like that in a day, and you do that 3 times every 2 months at a minimum, that's make 3 connections each time, that's 9 connections in 3 months. You continue to do that, you're going to build a business over the years. And you may do 6 months without getting anything out of it. You may. Probably take a little less than that, but it could happen. But I promise you, if you keep doing it, you will get business. Okay, let's talk about the open house and how to do a successful open house. First thing, which house do you pick? Well, gee, Jerry, I don't have listings. Where am I going to, where am I going to do an open house? Well, take the area that you most want to work in, and first call the office and see if anybody, if any other agents here have a listing that you can do the open house at. And if they do, great. If they don't, go on the MLS and search the area that you want to work in and look for houses that are in the area you want to work in that look like they're decent houses, reasonable repair and reasonable curb appeal, and look for ones that are vacant. And call the agent and say, gee, I'd really love to hold your house open this weekend. Would that be okay with you? Some of them will just say no. That's fine. Call the next one. If you email them, it's much easier for them to email a no than it is to tell you no on the phone. So you'll have much more success if you call them. Call and ask them. It may take 3 of them to call. You'll find one if you're actively looking most weeks. Okay? You'll find one. There's no question about it. And then once they say yes, and the house is vacant, make sure you go to that house before the open house so that you know where the water heater is, where the crawl space for the house, if it's raised foundation, if it's got copper plumbing. You know a little bit about the house. I did that one time, and I found out that it was like 112 degrees outside. It wasn't that hot, but it seemed like it. And this house did not have air conditioning. But I found out ahead of time. I didn't hold that house open. So the point of the story is make sure you preview the house before you go out there. So you look for houses in the area you want to work in, and the best houses are houses that are easy to get directions to. And the best houses are the ones on the way to the grocery store or on the way to another new housing complex where they're already advertising. They're looking for these new houses and they see your signs. They're going to the grocery store, they see your signs. Those are ideal. You're not always going to find ideal. So you find something that's reasonable in your neighborhood. Now, you can go to multi-million-dollar houses and you may get 1 or 2 people come through in a day. And if you do that for a couple of years, you might end up selling $1 million house. Or you can do a house between $400,000 and $600,000, which sell much quicker, which has a much bigger crowd looking for them, and you're going to meet a whole lot more people. So I look for houses about 5. It used to be 4 to 6. Now it's more like 5 to 7. But the point of the story is medium price houses in a neighborhood that you want to work in, right? You get one, you preview it, and if it's your listing, you're going to put in the listing open house Saturday from 1 to 4. Okay, I always advertise 1 to 4 o'clock. Always. I do it the same way every time. Why? Because it works. I advertise 1 to 4, but I don't necessarily do it 1 to 4. We'll get to that in a couple minutes. So I'll put it in the listing, open house Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 4, or whatever the case may be, if it's my listing. If it's not my listing, I don't worry about it a whole lot. Some people get mad when the other agent won't list it for them. I don't care that much. Why? If they list it in the listing, mostly it's going to bring more agents. We're not looking for agents, we're looking for people without agents, are we not? So, again, if they put it in there, good. But if they don't, I'm not too worried about it. But it's my own listing, of course I have total control over that, right? All right, so we get the open house, we plan it. Now, to sell a house, if it's your listing, you want to sell a house. If it's not your listing, you like to sell a house too. But mostly we're looking for buyers. The objective of doing an open house is not to sell the house, it's to find buyers. It's to find new buyers. That's the objective. Know what you're going after. When you make a phone call, what's the objective of your phone call? I've made calls and talked to them about everything under the sun except for what I needed to find out. I've learned what's my objective, write it down, put it in front of me and do it. Open house the same way. What's your objective? My objective is to make new connections. It's much more comfortable to make a new connection than it is to push somebody to buy something, right? And the more comfortable you are, easier it is to connect with people. So I'm not trying to push them into anything. I'm just trying to make a personal connection with them. That's much easier to do than to push them into doing anything, right? Make a personal connection. So, if I'm trying to sell the house, if it's my listing, I'm going to walk the neighborhood on Wednesday and I'm going to pass out flyers that say open house Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 4. Knock on the door. Hi, I'm Jerry. I'm going to open house. The house up the street's going up for sale. In fact, the sign's not even up. The sign will go up tomorrow. If it's your own listing, you can do this. If it's not, well, you can't do that. You can still walk the neighborhood and pass out, gee, we're doing an open house Saturday. Open house Saturday, come on by. Right? So, you can do 50 of them in an hour. Meet some of the neighbors. Okay? Guess what? When you meet some of the neighbors and they see you're having a successful open house, maybe they'll call you and they want to sell their house. So I walk the neighborhood, pass out flyers. The sign goes up on Thursday. The listing gets posted on Thursday. From this point on, we're going to assume that it's not your listing and move forward. So, on Friday, I'll reverse prospect if it's my own listing. In this case, we're assuming it's not. So Saturday, oh no, it's not Saturday. I can't do anything on Saturday because I don't want to be late. So what I'm going to do is on Friday, always on Friday, always. How often? Always. How often? Every single time. On Friday, I'm going to prepare for my open house. I'm going to review the listing. I know how many square feet it is. I know when it was built. What's important about that? It was built before 1978, potential for lead-based paint and so on. I know when it was built. I know what the school district is. I know the other houses listed. So I'll print all the comps, all the houses that are for sale, and all the comps. I'll have a copy with me. So people start talking about this house for sale. I already know. I already know what houses are for sale. I already know how much they're listed for. I already know where mine falls in line. I already know that. So they talk about going to the listing. I'll say, yeah, it's priced a little higher. And very honestly, it's about the same. I'll know that. I can talk intelligently with them. I'll know what the comps are. I'll know if this house is overpriced or not. Sometimes you're doing an open house and it's just truly overpriced. If it is, I don't talk about that, but I know where I fit. I know it should really be $650, not $700. I know that. And when people are talking to me, I don't push them. I just try to sell myself. Okay, getting prepared for your open house. When? On Friday. I get my open house box down. Okay? Open house box. If you don't have one of these, make it. It makes it much, much easier to prepare for an open house. I keep everything in here that I'm going to need for that open house. Now, I have to put my comps in here, and I have to put the for sales in here, and I put a copy of the listing in here. I have to do that Friday night. But I've already got this box all packed up. And in this box, I've got some little wipes. I've got some candles. I've got some air freshener. I've got tape, and you're going to need the tape. I got a bunch of my cards and pens and lender cards. I got this to display, my flyers in. I've got some of these nice little books from the title company, that I can put out on the table for the people. I've got all this stuff all ready to go, so I can't forget anything. I can light my candles. How about that? I got ties in case I need to put my signs to a telephone pole or something. Okay. Then what else do I have? I have my sign-in sheets. I have 2 clipboards with sign-in sheets. And on my sign-in sheets, I keep them simple. The less there is on a sign-in sheet, the more likely it is that people are going to fill them out. You want people to fill out the sign-in sheets. Without that, you really can't follow up. So what I put on my sign-in sheets, could you pass those around for me? Everybody can keep one of those. And this isn't a rule, you don't have to use that. You can use whatever you get from your lender or whoever else if you want to. I just made mine a little simpler. I need their name, their phone number, and their email. That's all I ask for. And what's the most important thing?
Email.
Their email. Their email is the most important thing, because with that, you can send them information. Eventually, they get the right information, they're going to call you, and then you'll capture their phone number, right? You can earn the right to talk to them by sending them good listings, by sending them good information, by staying in touch with them. The number one thing to have is their email. And if you have more, great. Anyway, I have 2 nice little sheets for that. Why 2? And I have a pen with each one of them. And on the first line, I put a fictitious name. I make up a name. Because nobody likes to be the first one to sign in a sheet. So I put somebody's name up here. I know it's just fake, but I put it up there. That way they feel more, and I fill it all out. So they're more likely to fill all out on the second line. Make sense? And something that I've wanted to experiment with that I have not yet done yet is we have an app from Realty One Group called Spacio. And it's on the iPad. And all I have to do is be able to open my iPad and then I'll be able to show that to you.
Jerry, but I cannot. My apologies.
We have an app called Spacio. Okay, it's free from Realty One Group, and if you have listings, your listings will show up here. And if you just pick which listing you're going to do the open house at, if it's not your listing, you can put in the listing number and it will show up here. Okay, so it'll have pictures and everything. So let's do this open house. Okay, launch the sign-in form. See, there's the house, and here's their information. You can hand them this, and they can type their information in. I've not done this yet. If they do this, and they put their name and their email in it, the system will automatically send them a thank you note for coming by the open house in 3 hours. You can set it for 3, 6, 24 hours, or 3 days or something. You can pick, I pick 3 hours after they sign in, they're going to get a thank you letter for coming by the open house. Automatically, you don't have to do anything. Also, it's automatically going to download their information into my database. Then what happens? They're going to get 12 newsletters, 6 greeting cards, and 2 phone calls every year, are they not? Right? My database has got 1,138 people in or something. Do I know that many people? No, I started with 200 and something, and I've met people at open houses, I've met people at chamber meetings, I keep adding them. Automatically, I'm not using this yet. I was going to test it a few weeks ago when we did an open house, and we were so busy with people coming in the door. Good problem, but I didn't get to test it. So I am going to test this. I've not done it yet. I think that millennials will be great with it. I think that some people won't want to do it here. But if they do it here, you can read their writing, you can read their email, and it downloads the database automatically, right? So it's here, it's available. I think it'll work great, but I can't tell you that firsthand yet. But again, it's free. I like free. So let's put that aside for now. And it really is easy. I didn't put that listing in there, it's just there. Because my listing just shows up. Yep.
Would you be able to input the information, for example, off of your sign-in sheet?
Yes, you
onto
could.
That later in the
Yeah, you could enter it yourself if you wanted to, and that way they would get everything just like as if they did it themselves.
Right.
And you either have to put it here or you have to enter your database yourself, right? So you might as well enter it here. So good point. In fact, I may do that. I've got some to do that with right now. All right, we were talking about this box, and you get the idea. You have all your supplies in here all the time. So I take it out of my office, I put it in my car on Friday night with plenty of open house flyers. That way my printer doesn't break on Saturday morning. I'm telling you, I had one of you guys that I met him at the open house on Saturday, helped him get started, and I got there, nobody's there, and I wait, no, they didn't show up. A half hour, she comes running in, What happened? She says, oh, my printer broke down. I had to go to the store and get things copied and it didn't work and I had to wait. And no. You set it up on Friday night. Why? Because you don't want to be stressed out on Saturday morning. You do everything on Friday. And I mean, you have it all done on Friday. This is in my car. My cooler is open with water bottles in it, waiting for me to put ice on it in the morning. Friday night. I can get up Saturday, I can sleep in, I can get up, you know, and relax and put a little ice on my thing and put it in the car. I've already got this here. I can't forget anything. I'm not smarter than anybody else, but I don't forget. Why?
Do you recommend balloons and donuts or cookies or all those things?
Yes and no. I'm not really that for them or against them. I think maybe having small bottles of water is good. If I were doing a multi-million-dollar house, I would probably do more. In the average houses here, I don't know that it's a big advantage. You may want to do cookies and water bottles, but beyond that, balloons only need to attract attention. Now we're going to get to marking the house in just a minute. So, we get prepared on Friday night. Everything is here. I can't forget. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but guess what? I don't forget anything in an open house. I don't forget to bring tape. I don't forget to bring, because I did it on Friday night. I'm relaxed. Now, what time did I advertise the open house? I advertised it from 1 to 4. So, I show up at people's house at 11, at 11, and if it's occupied, I give them the boot, they leave. I walk around the house, I get re-familiar with the house, I get a feel for the house, see what's good about this house. You gotta be able to sell this house, or at least feel good about it. You don't have to sell anything, you don't present the house, it'll sell itself. But you need to feel good about it. You have to feel good about it, look at the view out the front, or whatever it is. And if they say, where's the water heater? I don't want to go, duh. I want to know where the water heater is. I want to know where the crawl space is. I want to know where the electrical box is. I want to know where those, so I walk around the house. And while I'm doing that, I open all the drape, all the blinds and shutters and so on. I want as much natural light in that house as possible. If it's summertime, I want to turn the air conditioner on cold. So I want to walk in, I want to feel that air working, right? Something else, if you're doing a vacant house, there's something else you want to put in your car on Friday night. What might that be?
Toilet paper.
Sometimes I have that in here. Yes,
Into that.
Pepper spray.
and folding, possibly, folding chairs. You'll find that you go and you have to stand up all day long without a break at all. You're gonna wish you brought a folding chair. So, I bring folding chairs if it's a vacant house. If it's not vacant, of course, you don't need to worry about that. Saturday morning, I show up at 11 o'clock. I walk around the house, get familiar with the house, get a good feel for the house, open up all the curtains and so on. I may straighten up a few things. I've wiped down counters before I've swept floor real quick. Sometimes people don't do the right things. You try and set the stage so that they will, but I'll tell you, and if I know it's likely to be a mess, I'll show up early. I've cleaned houses. I'll clean a house if somebody's gonna pay me $10,000. I will. So, I make sure that it takes about from 11 to 11:15, I'm doing that. I jump in my car. That's already got my signs in my car with this because I did that on Friday night, right? And I go out and put out signs. Do I know where I'm going? If I don't know the neighborhood, I'll look at it on a map, and I usually have driven around the neighborhood ahead of time, so I know approximately where my signs are gonna go. Sometimes some houses require a lot of signs, but here's the thing. I never do an open house without putting out 15 signs or more. I have 22 signs. The minimum is 15. Remember, I don't want to do this open house and sit there by myself all day long. I just don't want to do that. I want to talk to lots of people. The day will pass quickly. You'll make lots of friends. It's a good experience. You're sitting there waiting for people to come in and nothing happening. It's a long day. It's a depressing day. And those of you who've done open houses with me know that most of the time we have people coming in. Because the biggest reason is I put out at least 15 signs. Why do an open house if you're not going to do an open house? Let's have a party. Let's make it serious. Have fun. Make money. Put out at least 15 signs. Pick the best way to come into the neighborhood. Try and have them all come in the same way. Sometimes there's two ways to come in. There's an old nasty house if you come in that way. If you come in this way, it looks much nicer. Bring them in a nice way, right? And when you put your signs out, you stop on a corner, get out of the car, and you look around. You think about where are they coming from and where do I want them to go to and where's the best positioning of my sign. And you do that, oh, there's another realtor doing the thing. Well, his sign's already pointed that way. Well, I'll just put one on this corner because he's helping me out. Actually, I turn his to point towards my, no, I don't do that. No, we play nice all of the time. We wish everybody else well. We want the other agents to be successful, right? Givers gain. You help them out. You do everything you can. If their sign fell over, stand it up for them. You know, always want the other guy to do well. Always wish them well and mean it. Okay, so I go out and put up my signs. It takes about half an hour, 40 minutes. I put out minimum of 15 signs. When you guys come with me, I say, gee, you're right. I think you should go over there. Go ahead. Now watch. I help, but very honestly, you better wear your tennis shoes because you're going to do some running. That's just the way it is. And I won't have you do an open house with me if you don't go with me from beginning till end. Because if you just come with me for the meat of it, no. You gotta come for the hard work. The setup and the tear down as well. And it's all beneficial. During all that time we're picking up or setting up or tearing down, we're talking. And we're talking about where this sign should go and about how the open house went and who you think are good prospects. It's worth it. So, I get the signs all put. I get back to the house about 5 minutes to 12. You said, Jerry, you start at 1. Yeah, I do. I get back to the house about 5 minutes to 12. Wipe the sweat off the brow, walk around the house, make one last look, make sure it's ready. I go out, I take the flyers off the pole. I do not want any flyers outside. Now, if you see one of my listings, if the house isn't sold, you're never going to see an empty flyer box. Never, ever, ever, ever. They're always going to have flyers, always. But guess what? The day of the open house, I'm going to pull those flyers out. I'm going to bring them in the house. Why? I don't want somebody to come by and take a flyer and leave. I want them to come in the house. Right? On the front door, I'm going to put this sign. It says, welcome, please come in. Right? Because the door may be shut. You need to knock. Please come in. And then secondly, for security purposes, the seller requests that all guests please sign in. That's on the front door. It makes it much easier to get information. That is on the front door. How many times? Every single time. Every time. They come in the door, and then right inside the door, I've got a table that I put up about this wide, about this long. I have my sign-in sheets on it, and I think I'm going to try this as well, but I haven't yet. My sign-in sheets are right there inside the door, and right above my sign-in sheets on a wall is this sign. So they come in. Hi, my name is Jerry Garner. I'm the listing agent here, or welcome, or whatever the case may be. And I point towards the table. This is right above it. Thank you for signing in for security purposes. Right? Better chance of getting them to sign in. And then keeping the sign-in sheet short and sweet helps too. Point of the story, you want people to sign in. Right? So, this is here. They come in. Hi, I'm Jerry Garner. I'm going to be you're the listing agent. If I get you to sign in, and I point towards the sign on the table, I'll get you a flyer. Flyers are not on this table. Flyers are in the kitchen. In here, in the kitchen. So go ahead and sign in. I'll get you some information about the house. I walk back. I pick up the flyer. I kind of look and see, and then I'll walk back over to them. I'll stand here and hold it until they finish. Hand it to them. Say, listen, it's got 3 bedrooms, it's got 2 bathrooms, central air, good house, everything works. Feel free to walk around, take a look, get any questions, I'll be available. You let them go. They think they're off the hook. That's great. They start walking around. 2 minutes go by. I go say, oh, and by the way, the shed in the back, that's going to be staying, so I just want to let you know that. And now you start a conversation with them. Their guard is down. And you start talking to them, and pretty soon you're in the front. Gee, you've been looking for a while. Yeah, I have. I've been looking for 6 months. Well, you have a great realtor? Well, I'm working with. Why do you say do you have a great realtor? Questions are important. I always say, do you have a great, if I said, do you have a realtor? Yes, no, whatever. I said, do you have a great realtor? Then they start telling me how terrible he is. And I don't try and steal him. But I do talk about what I do. Oh, gee, I make sure I'm always with my buyers. when I'm showing them houses. That way, if they're interested, I've seen it, I can more thoroughly evaluate it for them. And, you know, when I'm with them, I look for copper plumbing, I look for this, I look for that. And they look around and see if the house fits their needs. And then after we leave, we can discuss it. So, but anyway, while you're here, go ahead and take a look around. What have I done? I've set the stage for them to call me. Now, I'm not going to call them and say, yeah, get rid of your realtor. I'm never ever going to say that. They call and say, gee, we decided we want to work with you. That's a whole different story. And I did that because I said, gee, you have a great realtor. And then I don't talk them down. I talk about how the things that I do that are good. Never talk another agent down, even if they deserve it. Never do that. Talk yourself up. And you talk yourself up by saying what you do. Oh, by the way, you do what you say you do. Right? So,
Do we get a copy of those things?
oh gee, dude, would you like a copy of those? Can you pass these out for me? If you've already got one, don't take one. You can go online and probably get a better copy of it. But yes, you can take that with you.
How about when they start asking questions and they don't want to sign in? That happens to me a lot.
Okay, first off, if you use the signs, you have a much better chance. No guarantees. If they're absolutely, say, you know, you point to it, see the seller really requests that we keep track of who's coming to the house, you can understand that, right? And shut up. And you know, if it comes down to it and they push, okay, fine. So I'll tell you what, if you ask, 2 out of 3 will sign in. If you don't ask, 2 out of 3 will not sign in. And if you have these signs, if you use the signs, you have a much, much better chance. Okay? There's no guarantees about anything. Do I kick them out? Do I not? No, I don't do that. I let them alone. And then, I gave them my speech. There's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I let them go look. I catch up with them. Oh, and by the way, they just put this air conditioning system. It's brand new. You should never have to worry about that. And that gives you an opportunity to start talking to them. What was our goal? To build rapport with as many people as possible. That's our goal. Remember your goal. So should I kick them out? I used to be in a restaurant business, and you know, people would come in and have a coupon. It's for the wrong restaurant. Do you think I told them, no, that's down the street. Go down the street, and you know, and they'll take that? No, I took their stinking coupon. Why do I want to tell them to go someplace else? Your goal is to build rapport with as many people as you can throughout the day. Normally, on your second contact with the people, it gets difficult because 2 or 3 come in at one time, then nothing, and 2 or 3. So it gets difficult, but you do the best you can. And the best is getting them to sign in, tell them a little about the house, let them wander around, and then catch up to them and get the rapport going. Kevin, did you see me do that when you came by to visit my open house? How many people did I do that to while you were watching an hour that you were there?
Had to be 2 or 3.
In an hour. Why? Was I pressuring them? Was I beating them up? No. I was just making a connection with another person. And I was giving them giver's gain. Remember that, giver's gain. I was giving as much help as I could give them, whether they use me or not. You know, and sometimes I'll tell them that. If I think they're working with another agent, hey, do you ever want a second opinion? Do you ever just want general information? I don't care if you buy anything or not. Shoot me an email. If I can't, I'll help. That's the kind of person you want to be for real. Right? If you're doing it for real, it shows through. Chastity's done several open houses. Is she doing it as good as I am? No. You know why? Just a matter of doing it enough time to get the confidence level. She's got all the tools right now to do that, without question. She's going to be a superstar, by the way. So I'm telling you that in advance. You watch. She's going to be a superstar. She does all the things I ask her to do. And I'm telling you, if you do the things you're supposed to do, you will be successful. If you don't do the things you're supposed to do, the odds go way down. I want you to be successful. You know, sometimes I want it more than you want it because I'm doing all the things and you're not. If you're struggling, ask yourself, am I doing the things I'm supposed to do? Oh, but Jerry, I can't. Shut up. Tell me what you can do. Remember, it's not about what you can. I worked at ARCO my first 5 years. I sat in his office 10 hours a day. And I did at least $50,000 a year during that time. Okay, and then I left and I went to 115,000, then 198,000, and then this year 240,000. Doing the stuff I'm telling you. Yeah, I made that kind of money doing exactly the things I'm telling you. I got everything I got, I'm going to be giving you guys. And sometimes you got to hear it 2 or 3 times because you get a little different perspective. But I'm telling you, if you do these things, you will be successful. Well, gee, I don't have that outgoing personality. That's not what you need. You need discipline to do the right things even when you don't feel like it. It's easy to do this when you feel like it. It's easy. It's when you don't feel like it and you still do it that you know you're going to be successful. It's when you do 5 open houses and you get nothing from it, but Jerry said if I keep doing it, it's going to happen. It will. It will. And you don't have to be super smooth to make it happen. You just have to keep doing it and be as honest and sincere and helpful as you can. The way to make lots and lots and lots of money is to truly help lots and lots and lots of people. And that's how you make money in this business and in every business. And sincerity is important. I care about my clients. I really do. I get as excited about the deals as they do, almost. Yeah, I really do. And when they agonize, I agonize. And they know it, and they feel it. They know that I'm doing everything I can to help them. And that's why I sell the same family house after house after house. You know, and I sell their brother a house and their uncle a house and a friend a house because they see that. Sometimes they got to be reminded to send me referrals. So I don't call and say I need referrals. I call and say, hey, how's it going? I just reconnect with them a little bit. It's all about the number of relationships. What do I say? The more people that know you, like you, trust you, know that you sell real estate, the more houses you're going to sell, period. Without question. Just the way it works. I have no doubts about that whatsoever. Okay, so the open house. You know, we have plenty of flyers. We're not going to run out of flyers. There's usually 2 of us in the house because guess what? They come in 5 or 6 at a time and then nothing. So if you can have 2 people in the house, if it's you and another agent, great. But when you do it with another agent, just make sure you have an agreement going in. In fact, I encourage it. Do one with me and then do one with each other. You do it with each other, support each other, right? It's a lot easier to do it with another agent than just go out there and do it by yourself. If you don't have another agent, get your lender to come and do it with you. If nothing else, for security reasons, right? You don't want to be by yourself in the house, especially if you're female. I hate to be sexist, but it's true. They're more at risk than males. But the point of the story is, do it with another agent, do it with your lender, do it with your spouse. I don't care. Then you send your spouse out to eat lunch when you're ready. That happens quite often, as a matter of fact. So, the end of the day comes. You've had 20 or 30 or 40 people come through. I usually get 25 to 35 people come to an open house on a Saturday. Usually about 20 on a Sunday. I don't do them on Sunday myself. That's what I encourage you to do for me. So, the new agents do an open house with me on Saturday, and the experienced agents that have done it with me, like Sam or Chastity, if they've done one with me, then they can do it on Sunday with one of you. You guys can team up and do it on Sunday. Now, I would encourage you, as you guys get listings, to do the same thing. Do it yourself on Saturday, the primary day, and let one of us do it on Sunday. That way the people in this room will get more good open houses because we're sharing with one another, right? And plus you get to take Sunday off that way. Okay? So, I encourage you, and there's no rules, no regulation. I'm certainly not your boss, so I can't tell you what to do, but I encourage you to do it on Saturday yourself, which is the primary day, and allow one of the other agents in this room to do it on Sunday, and preferably 2 of the agents, or an agent and their lender or something. Okay, that way we all help each other out, and plus you know each other, so you're going to communicate better. It's just a good situation. Open houses, I truly believe that if you're not doing them, that you're making a mistake, that you're giving up money. There's just no doubt in my mind. You have to keep doing it. You have to be consistent. So I say minimum 3 every 2 months. I would say at least 2 every month, but it's sometimes hard to get good open houses. So, but you can get 3 every 2 months. You can if you try. You can. So I say do open houses. Okay, what else we're going to talk about? we're gonna talk a little bit about net sheets. What's a net sheet? Quite often, your sellers want to know how much money they're gonna walk away with after they pay commission and closing costs and all those kinds of things, right? Now, I'm not gonna go into it entirely today, but I did want to at least show you, maybe I can show you, I think I can show you. Yeah, I made a net sheet and it looks like this. You can go on to California, cal.org, and there's a net sheet on there, a format. You can just plug the numbers in, it will come up. I personally like mine better, and mine's quicker and easier. So if you would take these, take one and pass those around. And I made this myself, so it's not great, but I have tested it. And the way I tested it was, I did took a house, I ran the numbers, and then I had escrow run the numbers, and I compared mine to theirs, and I came out very close several times in a row. So now I'm pretty confident that this will give you approximate numbers. The more important thing I want to talk about today is I want you guys to know what those numbers are. What are closing costs? Your clients don't know. Your clients really don't know what title and escrow is, right? And so that's part of my buyer orientation. I teach them what title is. I teach them what escrow is. I teach them what market value is. That's the number one thing I do in a buyer orientation. I teach them what market value is. What is market value? It's the houses that have sold in the same neighborhood that are similar recently, right? Somebody paid money for a house. That's what the comparables are. So if a neighborhood is full of houses that sold for $500,000, and your client thinks he's going to get $600,000 because he's got it fixed up, he's not. But you need to be prepared in advance to teach them what market value is. Because if you teach them in advance, they will believe you. If you teach them in the heat of battle, they'll think you're trying to get the price up or down. So you tell them ahead of time. You do a buyer orientation. Okay, let's get to what are closing costs. First thing is, I don't have my mouse, so I'm not very coordinated with this because I forgot it. See, I should have read my car last night, right? Okay. Let me see if I can navigate to this. Okay, seller's net sheet. I'll come in and let's come down to the bottom part. First thing we need to know when we do a net sheet, what's the sales price of the house? Let's go, most of them are 500, 600, let's go 500,000 right now. Right? So everything we're going to base this on is going to be based on 500,000, right? So, coming back over here, let's go back up here. How much is title insurance? Who doesn't have a book with all the rates in it? If you don't have a book, please take those, let me have one. Take those and pass, feel free to keep those, and I get those free from the title people. From the title people, you can also get home buyer guides and home seller guides free from your title people. They provide these for us. These are the good things that you, during an orientation, you can give to your clients. They look pretty substantial and it's free to you. As well as these rate books are also free to you. So, let's look at how much, if you're selling a home, how much is the title insurance? Open a book, go to $500,000, very bottom of the first page, right? And you come over to the highest number, okay? That's the seller's, that's what the sellers can provide. It's the highest number, so it's $1,470, correct? Is that what everybody sees? $1,470. So let's put in $1,470. Next thing. Do we have any of those sheets left that I passed out? We don't, that's okay. I know most of it, believe it or not. Documentary tax, transfer tax. How much is that?
1.25.
No,
No, that's taxes. Documentary tax, transfer tax.
1.1.
1.1 in most cities. Okay, in Covina, San Dimas, Glendora, it's 1.1 per thousand. $1.10 per thousand. We'll talk about it in a minute. But some communities are higher For example, Pomona is like 3.4. It's a lot more. It's not a little more, it's a lot more. So if you're not sure of the documentary transfer tax, ask Siri, what's the documentary transfer tax? And it will give you a chart. I've tried it.
Nice.
Okay? Or you can go online, you can Google it, but it is there. So, if you're not familiar with the city, ask Siri, Google it, find out what it is. Most places, it's $1.10 per thousand. How many thousands are we dealing with here?
50.
Nope, 500.
500.
500. So, how much is the documentary transfer tax on this? And because I don't want to make a mistake, I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator. 500 times 1.1 equals $550. You all knew that off the top of your head, right? I use my calculator anyway because I don't want to make a mistake. $550. Okay, reconveyancy. What is a reconveyancy? That's when their lender is going to charge them to close out the loan. And they will, okay? And normally, it depends on the bank, but normally it's about $75 per loan. If there's two loans, a first and a second, $150. If there's one loan, let's say in this house there's one loan, so I'm going to put in $75. Right? Escrow fee. How much is escrow? Well, all the escrow companies are slightly different, but they're somewhat similar. Now, on your sheets, I've got the formula for that right here. So go to escrow fee. It should say $2.50 per thousand plus. And on some of them it has plus $250. If yours does not have plus $250, write $250 in there. Okay? So, how much is the escrow fee on a $500,000 house on average? Again, one escrow company may be $100 more, $100 less, but they're all going to be in this ballpark. So, let's take $2.50, 2.5 times the number of thousands, which is 500, equals $1,250 plus $250 equals $1,500. So the escrow fee is going to be about $1,500. And you'll notice that title insurance and escrow are usually fairly close. If they're not, check and see if you made a mistake. Home warranty. Quite often buyers will ask for a home warranty. And guess what? I want this number, I want my expenses here to be as high as possible. I'll usually put in a number of about 500. It's going to depend if it's a condo, a house, if it's got a pool or what. But I'll put in fact, let's put in $600 because a lot of them are $550 now. So let's put in $600. Remember, I want the expenses to show high. Because guess what? In the end, if they get more than you told them, they are happy. If they get a penny less, so you round the numbers up.
Okay.
So we put in, I'm going to put in 600. Documentary storage fee. Our office charges either $175 or $200, depending on if they like you or not. No, depending on how long you've been with the company.
3.
No, I pay $175 to the office, and because of that, they keep track of all the documents. They put them on a thumb drive that I provide the client with at the end. And when I'm going over a listing presentation, I cover all the costs, and I never have a problem with it. I say, gee, the office is going to charge you $175 to keep track of paperwork and to put it on a thumb drive for you to keep. And guess what? When you lose the thumb drive, they're going to keep records for a minimum of 5 years. By law, they have to. So they're going to keep it for at least 5 years, right? And people never complain about the $175 if I tell them that. Gee, I'm getting a thumb drive, I can throw away all this paperwork. Yes. Now everything's going to be on the thumb drive. Every paper with, fully executed, signed by buyer and seller, is going to be there on the thumb drive, except the closing document, the closing statement. Why? Because that's produced after everything is done. So when you give them a closing package, you're going to give them a thumb drive, and you're going to give them a closing statement. If you're smart, you'll make a copy of that closing statement, put it in their file in your own personal office. Because in a year when they're doing taxes and they've lost it, and they call you, you can immediately email it over to them. Oh, I've got it right here. Didn't that make them happy? You got it ready for them. It's so easy. And that's the most common thing. If they need other forms, we'll have to come through the office and get them. But that closing document, I keep a copy. And remember, that's not on a thumb drive, so they may not have it. They lose that paper, they've lost it. right? And they're going to need it for their taxes. So, document storage fee 175. Natural hazard report. You're familiar with that, right? That's what the natural hazard property ID that we use produces, and it tells about earthquake fault lines and fire zones and flood zones and all those kind of things. They charge $114 for the full report. I usually put in 125 here. I round up a little bit, use even numbers. PAD, what's PAD? It's some special cost, right? No, I put $500 in here because remember, I want to build up the expenses because guess what? Things are going to happen. You know, and maybe you forget something or whatnot. You want to be covered. So I put a $500 PAD in there. Sub-escrow fee. That's the fee that title company charges for their escrow portion. It's a sub-escrow fee. It's about $125. Notary fee. You may or may not have a notary fee, but just in case, I'm gonna put $100 in there. And notice I created a spreadsheet where it totals it up for me. Okay, now let's go down. I've already got the sales price of the house in. I put how much did they owe on their house? Where do you get that number?
The market value from the.
Nope.
No,
From
mortgage
the-
payment.
Payment?
You
Mortgage
ask the client,
statement.
and whatever the client tells you, you use. Because if it's wrong, you want it to be on them. You do not want it to be on you. Make sense? So, they said they owe $250. If it doesn't make sense, you might question it and say, gee, is there any chance you can call the bank Monday and find out what that is? But if it makes sense, put it in $250,000. How do you have any idea at all if it makes sense or not? If you're doing a listing appointment, you've already looked up the title, have you not? You've already seen whose name the house is in, right? You've already seen the correct square footage, number of bedrooms and baths from title, right? So, and it tells the previous loans and when they took the loan out. So you can see, gee, 10 years ago they borrowed $300,000 on a 30-year loan. Chances are 250 is probably fairly close. Well, let's say 6 months ago they took out a new loan and it was for $400,000. Well, they don't know 250, so you might question it. Now, you don't tell them that you looked it up, but you know if it makes sense or not before you ever talk to these, before you ever sit down with these people. If you don't, you're not prepared. Don't go into a listing appointment unprepared. Okay, and if they have a second loan, maybe they have an equity line. Equity lines will show up in a title report also, but it will tell the full amount of their equity line, not necessarily how much they have. So if they got an equity line for $100,000, they may owe nothing or they may owe $100,000. You don't know. I always assume the worst. I always assume they owe $100,000 because probably they do. More often they do than they don't. So. But you get that number from the people. They give you that number. Because remember, if it's off, well, it was their mistake, not yours. Right? They're very forgiving when they make a mistake. They're not so forgiving when you make a mistake, especially when it comes to money out of their pocket. Okay, in this house, we're going to say there's no second loan. The commission, how much commission do we have? I tell my clients that in this area, agents charge anywhere between 4 and 6%. Now, I truly believe it's a seller's market, and this is a Jerry thing, this is not law, you can do whatever you want to. I tell people that I believe that 6% is a little much in this market. There's more buyers than there are sellers. It's easier to sell a house now than it is certain other times. So I don't charge 6%. But on the other hand, if I only charge 4%, that means that I can only offer 2% to other agents to encourage them to bring buyers. I want to encourage as many people to come as possible. And so I tell the people, I give away half of whatever, if I'm charging, 4%, I'm going to give away half of it. And in the MLS listing, it's going to tell every agent, you get 2% for bringing your buyers by here. And I've already looked at all the comps in the area that are closed. And I look, gee, that one paid 3%, 2.5%, 2.5%, 2.5%, 2%, 2.5%. Almost everybody in your neighborhood was offering 2.5%. If we offer just 2%, an agent is less likely to bring their client. So the fact is, my best friend, my worst enemy, I charge them 5% commission, and I give away half of whatever I charge, and that is to encourage as many agents as possible to bring their clients. Now you'll find some agents that'll only offer 1 or 1.5%. Why do they do that?
They want to keep the most commission.
There's a bunch of reasons why they do it. One is they don't want you to bring their clients. They want to double-end it. In my mind, that's just horrible. That's cheating their own client. That's cheating their own client. Their client doesn't know how much you're paying the other guys. But when you only offer a 1 or 1.5%, you're cheating. People are not going to come and show it. I can't afford to show a property for 1%. Can't. I just can't. Not that I don't want to, I can't. I can't afford to. Just my reputation's worth that if something goes wrong. So, I offer 5%. I give away half of whatever I charge. So, I'm offering 2.5%. Now, I've seen agents that will not show a property for 1.5 or 2%, but I've never seen an agent that will not show at 2.5. So I don't think I have to charge more than that, but I think I need to charge 5%. That way I can put in the time and the effort to do it right, and I can offer enough for other agents to bring their clients. So I charge 5%. So let's put in 5% of 500,000 is how much? 25,000. And remember, so that's 12,500 goes to my broker and 12,500 goes to their broker. And at this company, we keep about 92% of that. Right? So most of that's yours. Closing costs, you take from, go back to line 13, total cost $52.20. Put in closing costs, $219,780, I think. Right? That's the seller's approximate net. Now, if you look at the bottom, I've got a little disclaimer down at the bottom. Right? The bottom of the sheet, it says this is not including possible unpaid taxes. Right? If they haven't paid their taxes, that's going to get paid before it closes. Or if they have some kind of lien, tax lien or contractor's lien of any kind, that's going to get paid first. It doesn't include that. It doesn't include any HOA transfer fees if it's a condo. It doesn't include any termite work or anything else that we agree to pay in the contract. But this is all your basic costs. So, what are the closing costs? $52.20. Now, if you're out in the field and you're looking at a $500,000 house, and somebody says off the top of your head about how much is the closing cost, because they're trying to figure do they have enough down payment and closing costs, what's the answer? You're not doing this. You're standing there in the field, and they say, "Gee, about how much would the closing cost be on this $500,000 house?" It's going to be real close to 1%. 52.20, 5,000. So off the top of your head, you can say about $5,000. Now that's off the top of my head. They know that. They can see you're standing in the middle of the yard or something. 1%. Everybody can figure 1% quickly, right? It makes you look really smart when you know these things. You know, if you're talking to a seller, you say, "Gee, after commission and closing costs and all that, how much am I going to net?" Well, I don't know how much you owe, but basically, then you take 6%. Your 5 you're charging plus 1%, 6% times 500,000, 30,000. You know, about 470. Right? So 6% of it, because if 1% is closing costs and 5% is commission, total 6%, 5 times 6, real easy, right? So you can look really smart right on the field. And if somebody's looking at a house and they say this one's 500, this one's 520, how much more is that $20,000? I would really like the one over here more, but it's 20,000 more. How much is that going to cost me a month? How much? You know, 20,000 more. How much is it going to cost?
Oh, $20.
20,000. It's going to cost about, if you take $4 per thousand, roughly. This is approximate. Let them know this is approximate. $4 per thousand. 4 times 20. It's about $80 a month. So in the field, I can say, yeah, this house is going to cost you about $80 a month more than this house. I look really smart. I'm not. So, as interest rates go up, that number will change. But right now, $4 per thousand is a pretty safe number. It's probably a little less than that, but it's a pretty safe number. The biggest point of this story was not to actually teach you how to do a net sheet. You can call escrow and they can run a net sheet for you. And if it's Saturday or Sunday, you're out of luck. But you need to understand what these numbers mean.
And you have to have this ready for your listing presentation?
When I have a listing presentation, I already have this done.
Because I watch some videos and they don't show this. You just, go through the, talking.
I bring it.
So.
When I go to a listing appointment, and a standard listing appointment, I come with a CMA that's on my laptop. I come with a net sheet, and I come with my list of 10 things I do to sell houses. That's next week, I think. We'll talk about how I get houses sold. 84% of my listings sold in 10 days or less for over asking price in the last year. That's a fact. How do I make that happen? I've got 10 things that I do to get houses sold. And I'm going to give you a copy of exactly all those 10 things. And some of you will skimp on those 10 things. Guess what? You'll wonder why it sold for less and took longer. It's not that I'm smarter, it's that I do all the little things. I'm trying to tell you that you guys can do this. Like I said, I'm a college dropout. But I take the time to do all the little things. And I care about my people. And I'm passionate about what I'm doing. So, the idea isn't to maybe teach you how to make a net sheet, although you could probably put this on a spreadsheet yourself and create a nice little spreadsheet for yourself. It'd be really simple. Or you can go to car.org and they've got one in there. To me, it's more complicated. And this one's simple and quick. I can do this literally in 5 minutes if I'm not talking about it. So this is pretty powerful to be able to do this real quick. And I have these when I go to a listing presentation. I go in a listing presentation, I show them my CMA, a nice little CMA on my laptop. And then while I'm sitting there, I email it to them. I don't send it to them ahead of time. I want to show it to them the first time in person. When I'm finished, I email it to them, so they've got it to look at after I leave. They always want to know what they're going to end up with.
Can we take one of the ones that we already sold?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Can we take one of the seller's net sheet from the ones that we already sold?
No, you want to do one for their house,
Oh,
the house you're talking about.
yeah, that's right.
We already know about what it's going to sell for. Now, you may not know what they owe on it. So you can either leave that part blank and say, gee, you'd get, you get 200, you get 70,000 less whatever you owe. Because they can subtract off what they owe real quick. So you can do this if you don't have everything. If you're talking to them on the phone, you might ask them, gee, approximately how much you owe, so I can do a net sheet to see how much you walk away. They want to know that information, so they'll gladly tell you approximately what it is, right? So, everybody having a little bit of better idea of what closing costs are. What are your two big ones? Escrow and title. On a $500,000 house, they're about $1,500. Your total closing costs are about 1%. Doesn't it make it easy? Escrow will gladly do this for you. Call up, they can do it in just a few minutes. Now hopefully, it takes about 2 minutes to plug in a number, but you may have to wait a while for them to get around to it because they've got, about 100 of us instead of just your one. So, I go into a listing presentation with this done. I want to know this information before I ever sit down with them. When I go to a listing presentation, I've looked at all the comps very carefully. Maybe I've never seen their house before, but I know darn well it's going to sell between here and here. And once I walk in the door, I know exactly what it's going to sell for. Because I'm so familiar with every other house that's sold that once I walk in, I see their house it's got nice granite, real nice hardwood floors, recessed lighting, it's got all the stuff, it's worth close to the top of the range. Or I walk in, it's got worn out carpet, it's kind of shabby, it's going to sell closer to the bottom. But they're going to sell between here and here. So when you walk in, you look really smart because you know this right off the top of your... As soon as you walk in, you can tell. You can almost feel it. Now, I said never, ever, ever be late for that listing appointment. How do you do that? Remember I said I've already printed out, I already know what the comps are. I printed out a thumbnail of them. I have them with me. So what I'll do is I'll plan on being at the house a half an hour early. And if there's no traffic and I'm truly half an hour early, I'll drive around to these comps and look at them. Because sometimes standing in front of that house, you get a whole different feel than you did looking at the computer. So now when I see them, I'm even more educated. Now if I get there and there's heavy traffic and I'm running late, I do this afterwards or the next day. But I'm not late, am I? I'm either more prepared and on time, or I'm on time even though there's bad traffic. There's no excuse ever to be late. Remember, when you get to that listing appointment, what do? You're so prepared. You already know what that, you know about that house. You know about the neighborhood. You know that the house down the street's in a different school district. That's why it sold for less. You know these things. The more you know, the more comfortable you are. The more comfortable you are, the better job you're going to do. The more you've got things at your fingertips, the better you're going to come across. Keep it simple. The smartest people in the world aren't necessarily the smartest people in the world. They're more organized. They have it laid out. They're more prepared. They really are. That's what happens. So, you're sitting in the car. You're there on time, right? So you have to worry about being late. You're dressed professionally, right? Whatever that is for you. And it's at a minimum business casual, right? Every time, no blue jeans, no ragged blue jeans and sweatpants and t-shirts. You know, you want to be dressed presentable. You sit in your car and you get your mind prepared to go in. What's that mean? You want to be in the best frame of mind you can. And we talked about this a little bit before. I'm going to talk about it again because it's critically important and it works. Picture a time in your life, and if you've done real estate for a long time, you take a good deal you had. But let's say, it doesn't matter if you've never done real estate. Pick a time in your life when you were on, when everything you said came out just right. Maybe it's when you're talking to your kids. For a change, they listen. You know, and you were just on. You know, it just came out right. You picture that in your mind. And you get you remember that feeling. And you'll feel a smile come to your face. And then you're ready to walk in. You can recreate the feeling you had when you were highly successful in the past and apply it to right now. You need to practice it a little bit. And I use the same example quite often. The Olympics, the guy in a high dive, he's standing there at the board, whole minute, he's just standing there. Is the guy afraid to jump in? No. He's playing and replaying in his mind a perfect dive. And he's getting his mindset exactly right. Don't we want to be at the same level as that Olympic diver and make $400,000 or $500,000 a year? Well, sure we do. How do you do that? You start by doing all these little things. What are you going to do? You're going to wear your name tag every time you can. Grocery store, wherever. Somebody's going to sometime ask you, how's the market? And what are you going to say every single time?
Good.
Well, gee, are you a buyer or a seller? Why do you say that? Because they say buyer, you know they're a buyer. They say seller, you know you're a seller. But either way, you know they're in the market. Or they say something different. Well, I'm just curious. Oh, okay, great. Well, if you're a buyer, you know, it's a little bit tough to buy. There's more buyers than there are sellers and so on. So sometimes prices tend to go up. If you're a seller, it's a great time. So you can go into some of the answers. But the point of the story is if you find out they're in the market, you've got a conversation going, what do you do? What's your goal? Build a relationship. Get their contact information. And then when you get home and you call them, what's your goal? Schedule an appointment. If it's a listing appointment, you do it in their home because you want to see their house. If it's a buyer, you meet them here in the office or a local Starbucks or something. I always meet them in the office, but if they live in Orange County, I'll meet them at a Starbucks down there. I'm not going to go to their house. I want neutral territory, right? So, Starbucks or here. You want control.
Why not at the house?
Because they're familiar, they're comfortable in their house. You're not.
Yeah,
Get them out of their comfort zone.
exactly.
Get them here and guess what? If you can't get them to come here or meet you at Starbucks, how are you going to get them to do anything else?
Exactly.
So for starters, that's the first test. Are they going to be a good client? Are they going to follow directions? If you can't get them in here, how are you going to lead them to a sale?
Most of them, they want us to come over their place.
No, because you allow that.
Yeah.
Because you allow them to go out without you. Because you don't do a good buyer
And
orientation.
sometimes they end up buying nothing.
There you go. Or they buy it from somebody else.
Yeah.
Sooner or later. Here's the thing. I assume everybody who meets me needs to buy from me because I'm going to take care of them. I don't assume it's going to fall out. I don't think it's going to fall out of escrow. I picture it coming to a close. How many escrows have I had that didn't go through in my life? Maybe one? Maybe? Why? Follow all the steps, do all the right things, and assume the best. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right. Henry Ford. It's true. I think I can. And Sometimes it took a little testing to get me there. And sometimes I had my doubts. And sometimes I wondered what I was doing wrong. But I kept doing it. I kept doing it. And then I quit my real job. Oh no, now I don't have a paycheck. No, I better do it. All right, guys, listen, it doesn't take a lot. Wear your name tag. Do 3 open houses. Create a database. Use a schedule. But you already got nothing to put on my schedule. Oh, this meeting's not important? Every Wednesday night, 6 to 7:30, you got this meeting. You know, maybe you should work on your database a couple days a week. Take a time. 7 to 8 in the morning, 2 days a week, I'm gonna work on my database. And we've talked about what that means in the past. Gee, I should be a lifelong learner. I should be reading every morning for 20 minutes. Oh, let's put that on the schedule. Oh, gee, I should go to 1 seminar a month. Oh, gee, let's look at the board and see what they offer. Let's go to that. You've already got 5 or 6 or 7 things to put on your schedule. I put my personal things on there too, right? Because if I'm taking my granddaughter to Disneyland, I'm not gonna show clients because that takes priority, right? It's going on my calendar. You have goals. Okay, guys, this is the end of it. Next week, we're going to move on. As you know, I'll probably take 5 minutes and run through what we've talked about in the past. But we're going to talk about, we're going to do the listing presentation. We're going to do 10 things it takes to sell a house. And we're going to try and do a CMA. If we run short on time, I may postpone the CMA to the following week. We'll actually do a CMA right here. And you can see how long it takes and what it looks like. And remember, every time we do anything with the MLS, we're going to be learning more about searching for properties, right? How do you truly run a comp? Is this a comparable property? Is it not a comparable property? You should be practicing that daily. If you have access to the MLS, take a house that's sold. You know what it's worth because it's sold, right? And run the comp. See if you come up with that value. Perfect way to practice. Every once in a while, a house sells kind of wacky, but by and large, every house sells for market value. So take a house that's sold in your neighborhood and run the comps. Are you coming up with what that thing sold for? If you did not, you're probably doing something wrong. Sometimes you're running, you find, gee, why is this house worth so much less? It's only 2 blocks away. It's in Glendora. It's just 2 blocks away from this house that's sold for $500. Why is it only sold for $450? Why? Oh, that's in Azusa School District. You find out why, where you went wrong. And the more you practice, the better you're going to get. And it's easy to compare some houses and very difficult others. If you're in a housing development with a bunch of cookie cutter houses, it's pretty easy. Let's say you got a custom house, especially higher value custom house. It gets very difficult.
Yes.
But the more you practice, the better you will get.
How do you do that when they have remodeled the whole house? They want their money back.
Sorry, it doesn't matter what a client wants for their house. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much they owe on their house. What matters is what the market value is, because every house sells for market value. Now, if it's been all fixed up, it's worth the high end of market value. If it's run down, it's worth the low end of market value. But every house sells for market value. How many? Most of them? No. Every house.
How do
So,
you make them understand? Because they don't want to understand that.
that's right. That's
You should teach
why.
them how to talk to them.
That's why you do
So
a
they-
good listing presentation.
That's
And
when
you're
they-
not going to win over everybody.
But then when they see the offers, they realize, you know.
Well, yeah, the offers are going to tell a story, but when you're doing a listing appointment with them, you show them every house that's sold in their neighborhood in the last 90 days or 6 months, depending on how many sold. Every house that's sold, you have them on your computer, right there. You have them right there. And you put them in order of lowest price to highest price. Start off with the lowest price one, look at it. And you look at the pictures, you talk about the house a little bit. You say, great, now, is your house better than this or worse than this? Oh, it's better than that one. You go to the next one. Well, this one's a little better, it's got some granite and stuff, but it's still, is your house better than this one? No, it's better than that a little bit. Go to the next one. Is it better than this house? It's about the same. Okay, great. Go to the next house. This house is a little better. Oh, so you're telling me it's worth between here and here. Does that make sense? They're telling you. You're showing them. You're not telling them. You're showing them. Which is better? To show somebody or to tell somebody?
What about asking them, what do you think your house is worth?
That's a great question, a pre-question. I like to ask that question on the phone before I get to their house, if you get the opportunity. Sometimes it's hard for people to talk about those things, but if you can find, the more you can find out before you get there, and that's why before I get there, I pull the title. I know about how much they owe. I know what their history is. Did they finance and refinance again, or have they been paying off a loan consistently? I get a great idea what kind of people they are, you know, just by looking at that. Sometimes I'll even stalk them a little bit. I'll look them up on Facebook. The more I can learn about these people, the better off it is. I find out that he's in a motorcycle range. I got a motorcycle. Great, I got it in right there. You know, sometimes, and then I find, oh geez, at his kids' games every week, he's a family man. I mean, to my granddaughter's I got a connection point with him. You find out what you can ahead of time. But when it comes down to getting them, that's the whole key. I could not sell 84% of my listings over asking price in less than 10 days if they're priced wrong. I will not take a listing that's more than $20,000 overpriced. I'll say no and walk away. Why? People say, oh, I want to get the sign in the front yard. I said, good for you, go for it. You can have that listing. Why? Because what's going to happen? Month after month, you're going to have to beat that customer up to lower the price. Your reputation is going down the tubes because now I can no longer say my listing so quickly. So my next listing presentation, I can't say that anymore. You know, I don't want to be the agent every month. Hey, you got to lower your price, you got to lower your price, you got to lower. No, I want to go in, I want to tell them, gee, your house is worth $515,000. I want to list it for $499,000. If it were my listing, if it was my house, and I wanted to get the most money for my house, I would list it at $499,000. Well, why, Jerry? He's told me it's worth $515,000. I know. But when people are searching for houses, they're going to search between $450,000 and $500,000. If it's priced at $501,000, they're never ever going to see your listing. If they don't see it, they're not going to come. If they don't come, they can't stretch their budget. Now, I won't list it way low because I want them to be able to afford the house. So I would list it at $499,900, and it's going to come in to their search criteria. They're going to see the house, they're going to like it, and while I'm at the open house, I'm going to say, gee, we've had a lot of interest in this house. I know it's listed at $499,000. I really think it's going to go for $520,000. I really think it's going to go for. You'd be amazed at how many offers I get for $520,000 because I told them to do that. But again, it's difficult to get them to do the right thing. But you have a whole lot better chance if you're prepared. If you're prepared, you have all the listings right there, and then the commission is right there too. You can see what the commission was. And you say, gee, they all charge 2.5%. That means they charge you 5%. Look at that one house. They only paid 1.5% commission. Took them 4 months to sell it. But you need to know these things ahead of time so you can point out the right things when you get there. You know, sales isn't talking people into doing things. It's asking good questions and pointing out what you want them to see. Right? We don't do anything deceptive. If you're working with me and you do deceptive things, you won't be working with me very long. I promise you. I try and do everything above board. I'd rather lose a listing than lie to somebody. I'll tell people. There are agents that will come in and tell you they can get $550,000 for that house. I promise you they will tell you that. But the fact is, you see what the comparables are. Every house sells for market value. Every house. Now you're just kind of nice. I want to get the top end of market value. And I think we might push it for an extra 10. But I'm not going to promise you $550,000 because I truly don't think it's going to happen. There's no numbers to support that. And I'll tell you what, I don't lose very many of them like that. I really don't. And most of them list at the right price. And if it's more than 12, yeah, some of them will push me on and listing for $520,000 instead of my $499,000 like I wanted to. I'll do that. I don't like it, but I'll do that. But if they want $30,000 or $40,000 more, I won't do it. I'll say, gee, I truly don't believe I can sell it for that, nor do I think anybody else can. But if you want to go for that, go ahead. If not, give me a call. I'll let it go. All right, guys, it's about time to call it quits. With 2 minutes to spare, we'll come back next week. We'll talk about how to get a house sold, the 10 points to get it sold. We'll talk about CMAs. We'll search in the MLS just a little bit. And look forward to seeing you all then. I'll stick around for a few minutes afterwards if anybody has any questions. And otherwise, I'll look forward to seeing you next week.